Hey everybody, welcome back to theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Again, it's theclinicaltrialsguru.com. I'm interviewing Elisa Cascade. She's the president of data solutions at DrugDev. And yeah, just 2 months ago we interviewed the CEO of DrugDev, and we wanted to get more in depth into the data, the analytics that DrugDev is behind, the data they're managing, and I guess at a more general level, the role of data and analyzing this data and how that will shape the clinical research industry. So I guess we can go a whole number of ways with this, Elisa, but thanks for coming on, first of all.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And can you give us just a little background on who you are and how you got involved with DrugDev?
Sure. I have a lot of experience in the industry. I don't like to say how many years because it makes me sound older than I actually look in person. But
Okay.
to say I have a significant amount of experience in a wide variety of areas in the pharmaceutical industry, starting out in sort of market research, pricing, reimbursement, extending into the commercial area, and then into the clinical area. I worked for several years at Quintiles, learned a lot about clinical research, and an opportunity came to work at DrugDev, do something a little bit more innovative, a little bit more disruptive in the industry, and I jumped at it. And I've been at DrugDev for about 3 years now. Great company to work for.
Yeah, it seems like it. We were interviewing the CEO last time, and it seems like there's a bunch of acquisitions going on and a lot of little startups that they're cultivating. It seems like an incubator kind of for small tech startups that play and operate in the research space.
Yes.
So, can you tell us about, I guess, as president of Data Solutions, what is your role? What is your primary function there?
Sure. I manage a platform that we call Site Cloud, and our customers use that platform for two purposes. Number one, they use it to integrate information from various data sources to make more informed decisions related to study planning and site selection. Secondly, the platform is also very helpful in supporting master data management and helping them improve the quality of their internal data.
Now, is this primarily used by sponsors, by CROs, or by research sites?
Everybody really, sponsors, CROs, and as we get into the story, you'll hear that there are even some applications that might be helpful to regulators as well.
So, I guess when was the need for this realized, and what are you guys doing to help solve that problem?
Excellent. So about 3 years ago, some very forward-thinking pharmaceutical companies got together and they had this crazy idea. They said, wouldn't it be great if we could share data for the benefit of both investigators as well as pharmaceutical company sponsors? The idea being that with data sharing, you could better match the right investigator to the right site so that we don't keep burning out the investigators. We really try to sustain that investigator base. And so they say that necessity is the motherhood of invention. You have these companies that are willing to share data, but no way to integrate the clinical trial management systems across these companies. And so over the last 3 years, we've been really figuring out how to do that. And it's a multi-step process. What we do is we map each of their individual data to a file specification, a standard specification. We import that into our system, and we use a variety of automated algorithms to assign a unique identifier to each person and each facility in every data set. It's called the DrugDev Golden Number.
Hmm.
And that DrugDev Golden Number is how we link across these different data sets. What we've learned is that using automated algorithms only gets you so far. And so we've also had to add a human process where we do manual curation to link and unlink numbers as well.
hmm So who interprets this data, and I guess what data is shared?
Um, what's very exciting is that today there are several different types of data, but the platform's expandable such that more and more data could be integrated in the future. So today what we're looking at is clinical trial management system data, the kind of data that exists within a pharmaceutical company, a person at a site for a study, and associated metrics.
Mm-hmm.
Also pulling in profile information, profiles that are created by investigators about themselves or their facilities through places like the Investigator Databank and Transcelerate's shared investigator platform. A third source of data is our own network. DrugDev has a network of about 80,000 physicians. We also bring in public data sources, FDA debarment, for example, clinicaltrials.gov information, and we're partnering with external organizations like third-party subscription data providers, as well as associations like ACRP, the Association of Clinical Research Professionals, to bring in information that all can be used in study planning and site selection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. I mean, I'm aware of the Investigator Data Bank. Many of my sites have filled out surveys to be contacted for future studies. I encourage all the sites and anyone watching, if you have a site or you're just an investigator and you want to participate in clinical trials, the best place to go first, and it's free, is drugdev.com. And the address used to be drugdev.org. I'm sure that still will work as well. So I'm very interested in the site metrics that you guys have, being a site representative and the vast majority of my audience being sites or CROs. What kind of metrics are kept? We've always heard talks of them keeping some data and metrics on response to queries, how quickly sites enter data. Does it go more in depth than that?
So I think every individual pharma company sort of focuses on different metrics. What we've done in these collaboration is primarily focused to date on enrollment metrics. And the reason that we've done so is that we've had to be very careful in terms of multi-company collaborations and not to have antitrust. So we only put very objective, quantifiable data into the system, not subjective data. The metrics that they're looking at are primarily 5 things: patients per site, enrollment months, patients per site per month, screen failure rate, and retention rate.
Okay.
Those are the 5 things that we're primarily focusing on. You know, it's very interesting. We hear the same things that you were just saying from sites. And I think the biggest risk is that there is this sort of black box type feeling around these metrics. What we're seeing in these collaborations is they want to sort of take away that black box and make it more transparent. So from the investigator data bank in the profiles, investigators can actually see the metrics that the companies are holding on them for the studies that they've performed.
And so a PI can log in to his or her platform, or let's say it's the coordinator that manages that profile. They can log in and they can pull up their own metrics from their site.
That's correct. If it's a participating member in the investigator data bank. And we're also, that's on the roadmap for Transcelerate as well, to make information available through the shared investigator platform in the future.
Gotcha. So now, do you guys store data on every clinical trial going on, or is it just the trials that the feasibilities are being handled by DrugDev?
So it's for the companies that integrate with the platform.
Okay.
We're really looking 2008 to the present for a couple of reasons. Number one, more recent seems to be more relevant. And number two, that's really when clinicaltrials.gov started tracking things, and we find that the data from 2008 to the present is a lot more robust, higher quality.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of things was clinicaltrials.gov starting to track?
Well, it's just there became in the United States a mandatory reporting requirement.
Oh, for study results, yes, okay. Yeah, because sites would be very interested in that. I know patients and the whole e-patient movement, those guys are interested in study results. Typically sites, I mean, you might have an investigator who's interested in that, but what the value for the sites would be access to their own metrics. So that's something new that I learned. And so for anyone out there who has a DrugDev profile, I guess you can go in, and I'll go in and check mine right after for my sites and see how we're stacking up. Very good, very interesting to hear this. Anything else? Are you guys getting involved in the virtual workspace platforms, risk-based monitoring, any of those kind of things?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that you've probably heard from IBS as well. DrugDev is really looking at this sort of clinical trial technology space. We're really focusing on technologies and processes that can make the lives easier for investigators, as well as to make processes more efficient for sponsors as well. We're looking for these win-win situations for both groups.
Hmm. Yeah, we definitely did cover those things, and it's just interesting to see where technology is allowing the space to progress towards. I've always argued that we've always had a risk-based monitoring. We just now have the tools to actually be more efficient at doing that. Now, what about patient recruitment? That's also a big hurdle that the industry has. I mean, that's the reason why most trials are delayed, and the majority of, I guess, funding goes to the sites that are not enrolling, and most studies that do not enroll on time. So there's a lot of lost revenue there. Is drug dev involved at all in that space?
It's something that we're looking at very, very seriously because we do believe that it's such a critical component, as you were saying, to a successful clinical trial.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think that there's been a lot of focus on the recruitment piece, but there's other pieces I think that are very important as well. It all goes to that positive patient experience, sort of thinking about electronic informed consent, thinking about a single place that patients can log in and receive information about their studies, thinking about how do you compensate patients for their time and how do you provide those stipends back to patients. And then, most importantly, and we forget this as an industry all the time, to say thank you and to
Hmm.
actually follow up with that patient and tell them once the trial has been unblinded and results are available, what actually happened in the study that they participated in.
Right. Yeah, very important, often forgotten. Back to the site metrics really quick, and then I wanted to get into wearable technology as we wrap up. Um, Back to the site metrics now. How do you guys get this data? Do you guys have your own EDC platform, or are you hooked into the IVRS? Without getting too technical, I mean, how do you guys actually get this data?
So right now we're getting it from CTMS, clinical trial management systems that are at the pharma companies or the CROs,
Hmm.
and they're passing it to us sort of on a monthly basis. Where I think we're moving towards is a more real-time integration where they'll actually use an API to pass us that information in real time. But
Hmm.
today, it's a monthly pass.
Monthly. Okay, yeah, and I imagine as more data points and more metrics are being looked at, having an API where it's more of a passive sharing would be appropriate.
Yes.
Now, getting into wearables, I had a few viewers email me about where I think the industry is headed as far as wearable technology, and specifically like collecting vital signs from study participants and having the data automatically entered into the EDC. Are you guys looking at these kind of things as well?
I think everybody is looking at that. I
Yeah.
can't tell you. It seems like every single pharmaceutical company and CRO that we talk to is looking into that space. I'm not quite sure what role drug dev will play in that space, but it's certainly on our radar screen because I think more and more of studies are going to have that. And not just for vital signs. For me, also, I have a bit of a patient reported outcomes background.
Hmm.
I think it really provides a new type of data. Rather than having questionnaires that patients fill out, now you're getting objective data on sleep quality, for example, or stability of movement or number of steps. Some of these things that may have been reported by patients in the past are now going to be reported through these wearable devices.
Right, objective rather than subjective data.
Yes.
Very interesting, and I'm looking forward to meeting you at Scope.
Yes.
Are you presenting or on any panels there this year?
Yeah, I think I'll be presenting on Tuesday. I'm on a panel, and I
Okay.
Thursday we have a drug dev breakfast as well.
Very good. All right, everyone, look for Elisa and Drug Dev there at Scope. It's coming up in a month. And thank you very much for your time, Elisa.
Thank you very much for having me, Dan.
And thank you, everyone, for watching. This is Dan from theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Take care.